Hello there, welcome back. This is an extra video. This is the Tuesday video. It's a quickie. I'm not doing a massive epic thing with massive background or anything, nothing like that. There's not even any lights, just natural light. The reason is this is to go on with the show up videos and a few other small ones I did. And I shot this after those ones. So I only made 3 videos this week, and I've actually now made 4. So please ignore what I said about 3 videos, it's now 4. It'll make sense when they all go up. But they have kind of small, it's a small week, it's not a big week or anything. So I'm just doing a filler one this week. I've got a couple of other bigger things to talk about for the next few weeks in the Tuesday slot, but today I'll just do a quickie, which is the Marvel movies. I've done some Marvel videos already. I did a thing years ago called Build to Civil War, right? This was years and years ago, before Civil War came out, so I did all the films up to Civil War, including Civil War then, so you can go back and see those ones, see my old views of Marvel films. So anything that came after Civil War is kind of what I'm kind of covering. I mean, there's not that many, but I thought it'd be good to go into the Marvel movies that followed, because there's quite a lot of good ones that followed. I mean, after Civil War was kind of, it was one of the early, it was one of those ones that was one of the high points, but there'd been high points before, you know. If you like Marvel movies, I mean, that's the big thing is, if you like Marvel movies, you like most of them generally, and if you don't like Marvel movies, it's like, there's not much you can say to make you like them. You can know this way whether you like them or not at this point, whether the humour annoys you or makes it all seem fun, you know. If it's too lightweight or too formulaic, or those are just the building blocks for all the fun stuff, you know. Marvel movies are not that deep, so it's hard to talk about in some ways, so that's why I stopped doing videos on them, because it was like, I found it much easier to talk about something like Show than I do about something like Marvel. There's just more to talk about. So I'm trying to just do a bunch of them at once. I've done them in best of videos since then. I've briefly mentioned certain Marvel films, but nothing major or anything. So the films that followed, I mean, I did up to Civil War, and so I covered like Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man. They were all kind of coming out round about the same, they were coming out just before Age of Ultron and things. So after Civil War, the first one was Doctor Strange. In some ways it's better if I just talk about them clunks of quality. Like, there's certain ones that are certain quality and there's certain ones that are higher quality, so I don't just try doing them in order of release, I'll just do them in order of quality and clumps. I mean, so you've got the Doctor Strange, Ant-Man the Wasp, and the new one, Captain Marvel. They're kind of the lesser quality Marvel movies since Civil War. None of them are bad per se. Nothing's bad about them, like nothing's horrible about them. It's just that I mean, Ant-Man the Wasp is probably the best of the 3 as a film, because it's more entertaining, it's sillier, it doesn't take itself seriously at all. It's a fun movie, but it's just not serious. I mean, that's a film, there's some serious subplots about a daughter losing her mother, and a guy trying to come back from being in jail again. The second time in a row, Paul Rudd plays a character who's just been out of jail in an Ant-Man movie. Hopefully they'll change it up for the 3rd one. You know, because it seems like every movie he's in trouble with the law. Like, unnaturally in trouble with the law before anything else would come out. And again, these are light movies because Paul Rudd's a very late actor. Michael Douglas is in it. Angelina, I can't pronounce her last name, or I can't remember. It's just, my brain's not great. Anyway, Evelyn Lilly, that's it. Sometimes your brain gets brain farts. Anyway, so it's a fun movie. It's nothing serious, but it's enjoyable. If if you go in ignoring plot holes, knowing you have to ignore plot holes, because there's tons of plot holes if you really want to take it. I mean, it's not as bad as the first one for plot holes, but there are plot holes, so. But it's enjoyable, it's silly, there's lots of weird digressions in it. I mean, a lot of the best scenes in the film are just people sitting and talking to each other and, you know, being eccentric to each other and not getting on for character reasons rather than plot reasons, stuff like that. That's kind of fun of it, plus all the miniaturization stuff, people shrinking, growing, all the rest of it. There's a lot of fun to be had in all of that. It's just a nice little silly movie. I mean, there's nothing else to it. Doctor Strange is a kind of a weird mix. It's got like some of the weaker elements of a Marvel movie, but there's some really strong points too. I mean, it's got the most traditional origin story narrative, which is weird because it's the most far out character, you know. But I think in some ways that made they locked it down a lot more because they were scared of losing everybody watching the film, so they made the characterization and the world building very careful, and they didn't go over the top with it. They were very careful not to get too weird too quick. So it meant it was a hero's journey from a guy who was this annoying doctor who was egotistical to a man who's brought down by injury and has to learn a new look in the world. It's very obvious, it's very Iron Man. This is what the review said early on, it's very Iron Man. And it is, it's really Iron Man-ish. They took the conventions and just played it out. And it's not as fresh as Iron Man, because Iron Man did it first, and it had a slightly better character. This one, Benedict Cumberbatch plays Doctor Strange really well. He's a lot of fun. It's a very shallow character performance though, because everything's on the surface, there's not really much to it, but it's done really well. In some ways he's more interesting than other films that follow, when he's playing against other eccentric characters, where he gets to do more stuff. In this one, he's the strange person. He's strange, but he's the eccentric person. It's only when he gets against Mads Mikkelsen later on in the film, where he's up against another actor who's eccentric. That's the highlight of the movie, really, for the acting side of it. But it's not the greatest script. The script's very obvious. The script's really obvious in lots of ways. And what's best about it is the visuals. The visuals are terrific. All this sort of psychedelic stuff and time going forward and backwards. People getting out-of-body experiences. People like seeing themselves put in their own body and seeing their own body, and they're having to. There's magic stuff going on while the body of the character is getting operated on things. There's lots of interesting stuff there when it goes to the different dimensions, magic dimensions. All that stuff's great. Visually it's great. But it's kind of in lots of ways, it's script wise is one of the most conventional ones, and it's probably definitely one of the clunkier scripts. You know, it's one of those ones where there's a lot of setup as well, but it's setting up stuff that could make for a really good part two. There's a lot of stuff there you think, well, they've done all that stuff now, hopefully they'll get to the interesting bits. I mean, as it goes on, it gets more interesting, like the motivation of the villains interesting. This is when Marvel started to get the idea of how to do the villains properly. It wasn't quite there yet, but it was getting there. This one was like a good stepping stone to where they want to go. And they needed better writers, really. You know, I mean, that's the big problem with this film, is the guy who directed, Scott Derrickson, who did a bunch of horror movies. He's probably the least interesting director they've had. So it's very pedestrian in lots of ways. The characterization is very pedestrian. It's the big thing. But the visuals are all great. So they've got a lot of good visual artists to work on it and made some really interesting things. But the central thrust isn't is very conventional. But hopefully they've got the basics out of the way now, and they've kind of worked out who Doctor Strange is, and I think they've seen that he's better with other characters, he's better interacting with people. Like when you got him on interacting with Thor and all the Avengers, it worked so much better because he had people he could actually verbally joust with, so it just worked better. But it's still a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. There's a lot of potential there. Doctor Strange is one of my favourites of the characters, the Marvel characters, so I'm hoping to do more with it. But you do wish they'd give it to a really eccentric director who could really make it fascinating. Okay, next is Captain Marvel. This is the last of the bottom tier, director, studio things. The directors have done some work, more interesting work in the past, but they're not blockbuster directors, and the film is just out, and it's had some controversy, and some of the controversy is really unearned. I'm going to stop a bit later on because it's getting dark. The controversy is kind of unearned because it's about stuff that the actor Brie Larson said in an interview that is just open to it's like an actor talking, who cares? But because it's a female lead character, a lot of people are just ready to go against this film. It just seems to be like, lots of, we're not sexist, but you're thinking, you kind of are. There's an undertone here of like sexism, some of these people, and there's also a lot of, I mean, I can never see why all this stuff would need to happen. I mean, the female Ghostbusters came out, it was weird as well. It was like, I just thought, who cares? But some people took offence, they're changing this. But this one, it's a female character from the comics, it's not a male character, it's Captain Marvel's a female character. Doesn't matter, it's like, but if some people just take offence and are looking forward for this and fail, and it's just a massive opening weekend, so it's not failed. But there's a lot of social commentators who have got an agenda, and a lot of them don't know much about film or how people experience film or why people won't see films. They're just doing it for their point of view, their own agenda. So I'd suggest avoiding reading all that stuff because it's just garbage. I mean, a lot of them have no clue about actual films and no real knowledge of film. And they read films in a very reductive way that is insulting to the intelligence of most people who see films and enjoy them. They're just very basic readings of it. So I would ignore the controversy. The controversy is so shallow. It's so loud, but it's very, very shallow. There's no real depth to it, and it's embarrassing for any side, because I mean, you also see the feminist side are trying to promote this one, but yeah, of course some of them are going to promote this one because it's a women character. But doesn't mean it shouldn't get promoted. It should, because there's not that many female lead characters in superhero movies. What's wrong with having some? Really, it's no big deal. But some guys are really kind of lost on this one, and it's creating an agenda that's not really there. And of course they can't back out and say, oh, I was wrong, this film is actually just okay. No, it has to be the thing that they have to stick to it. This film's awful, this film's an abomination, different thing, and it's not. It's fun, it's a fun film, but that's all it is. It's like Doctor Strange is a first clunky film that hopefully will get a follow-up that will build on what's there. Because there's some good stuff there, but it's a very clunky script. I mean, the script is clunky as hell. There's lots of stuff in there that's very contrary to stuff I've seen, like just a lot of stuff, twists in it, but the way they set it up, and then when you look back and what happened after the twist, it's like some of it doesn't jive so much. It could have been finessed more. There's some stuff characterization wise that is not well played. There's the idea of she comes back to Earth, Captain Marvel comes back to Earth after maybe for 6 years, and she just doesn't seem to be like, she just seems to shrug off all the problems of what kind of where to go is, and try to remember her past on Earth. It's just very throwaway, and the characters who interact with her very throwaway to, oh, this is a potential alien race. None of that gets the weight it needs for a drama. So there's lots of stuff like that are played off for quick humour when you needed a bit more depth to them. That's the big problem with the film. It's like, it is about 15 minutes too short, actually. It needs to fill 15 minutes. So there's lots of stuff where she's got amnesia and she's trying to work out her past. And you get the basic building blocks. It's very Robocop-ish, but it doesn't quite have the depth of Robocop, because Robocop really had this sense of the person before they were killed. In this one, you don't get a sense of a person, you just get some of memories. And Brie Larson plays it really well. I mean, of all of these first three weaker films, Brie Larson's probably the best lead in them, but she's got the worst material in lots of ways, because the material doesn't help her. But she's so spot on with the looks, with the reactions, you know, that it's terrific, but she keeps on getting undone by the script all the time. So I don't know, you can watch it and think she should criticise for stuff that are really a script problem a lot of the time, because most of the roadblocks in this film are script problems. So it's a very clunky script, but I still think it's less clunky than Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange had really cool visuals, and this one has very basic visuals. It's the aliens are very Star Trek, you know, funny makeup and a lot of darkness to hide the makeup. So whenever there's an action scene in darkness, you can barely see what the hell's going on. So you don't really have the excitement of a lot of the action scenes. It's just like blurry people punching each other. And that's a big problem. It's something Marvel tends to avoid. They tend to have lots of colours to make it fun. This one, there's tons of darkness, and it's like, I'm not excited. And there's lots of problems with, there's lots of fun action scenes, but nothing follows on from one to the other to the other. It's just always another action scene to have an action scene in there. A lot of time, they don't feel that motivated. It's just like we need another action scene. It's like once the action scene's over, it's like, well, what did we learn that couldn't have been done in a very small action scene that could have taken about half a minute? Nothing. It's just for some fun, which is fine because there's some fun stuff in it, but you don't get that propulsion of an action set piece upon set piece that means something. You just get some scenes and other scenes, and it needed more work. The script needed more work. It wasn't there yet. And I think the flashback structure didn't really help the idea of she remembering stuff from her past while she's trying to figure out her past, and she's in this other adventure. She can't really trust anybody, it's all kind of paranoid. But does it feel paranoid? It feels too lightweight, so the paranoia is never there. So it feels like a lot of those 50s, some 50s movies where they were dealing with alien invaders, but people seemed a bit too calm. That's what this film feels like in lots of ways, but it's more sarcastic, but it's still like that 50s sci-fi movie feel of people who are just a bit too cool with everything, all the weird stuff going on. And you kind of need something more. But that's just the downside. The upside is it's a fun movie. I mean, it keeps it going so fast that you never have time to really complain. And the actors are all working well against each other. Ben Mendelsohn's hilarious as the kind of villain / something else. And lots of funny stuff. Every character has some funny moments. Every character is very human, but it's just that they don't have the time. It just needs more time. Needs to lose a couple of things. There's how she gets her powers doesn't feel as weighty as it should. Partially because it's the structure, because that's done in a flashback, and it just doesn't feel like the epic it needs to be. But still a very fun movie. I mean, I would say it's more fun than Doctor Strange, but Doctor Strange is more interesting. But this one's got better moments of people interacting, but has lots of weaker elements struggling all over the place. But you know, of the weakest of these three weaker films, I would say that Ant-Man and the Wasp is the best one. It's the most fun one. It's the most consistently enjoyable one. You know, but they're all enjoyable. It's just they're filler movies. They're not the top level movies. Okay, next is the kind of better movies, the ones that kind of really delivered. These were the kind of run the mill. These are the ones that ran with a lot more consistency and clarity, and they were. I'm not going to do Spider-Man Far From Home because that was a Sony movie. Marvel were involved, but they're not. It's not their movie. Even though it is their movie. I'll quickly say it's an enjoyable film, but it's no Spider-Man 2. You know, it's fun, but if I was going to put it anywhere, I'd put it in the weaker ones, really. Or on par with Black Panther, which I'll talk about now. Black Panther of the top, the ones that were acclaimed. I'd say that's kind of the weakest of the bunch. You know, the ones that's on the run of good films. This one kind of, I know it was better received than something like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I just think Guardians of the Galaxy 2, despite its flaws, is a much more interesting film. Black Panther is a very good film with lots of good characters, but it's too long. It's the exact opposite of Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's too short, it needs a little bit more breathing space. This one keeps on, to me it was very, very slow. There's very much pacing issues where they kept certain things for too long, and another time when someone needed something, it wasn't given the time it needed. Like, is a really good villain in Killmonger, which Michael B. Jordan plays. He's a really good actor, so just give him something decent to work with and he would deliver. So it's like, he's rarely bad in films, so like, he was always guaranteed to be good. He's got good rage and he's got a good point of view, and then he turns into a psychopath halfway through the film in a way that is a cop-out, it's a cheat, you know. They could have made him a villain who had a valid point of view throughout, but that would have meant making the hero a bit less noble, and they didn't want to do that, and that would have been a much more interesting thing to do, more complicated, but they don't do that. I mean, that's Marvel does sometimes, they try and have a complicated twist. I mean, there's a twist in Captain Marvel, I'll just say now, the villains, the Skrulls aren't the villains, they're the victims, the refugees. Again, it's a really interesting twist that they don't do much with. In this one, the villain has a point of view that a lot of his people, a lot of black people, have been brutalised by the rest of the world and they've been undervalued, and he wants to create militias to take back what's theirs. Which is a valid grudge, but it's not a good idea. Right? So instead of railing into that in an adventure movie, like exploring it to the degree it needs to be explored, it's set up and then he's just a villain, and they bring it back towards the end is a bit more complicated, but the damage is done because he's fighting against his own people and he's got this master plan, and this just spouts from seemingly nowhere, and it just doesn't really, it's not emotionally interesting. There's lots of good stuff in it, but there's stuff like they have two different duels for leadership. The first one they set it up, and the second one's a real duel where Black Panther loses, and that creates the fight for his kingdom. But trouble is, after you grab the first one, it takes forever and is a very long scene, and it's not that well choreographed. There's the second one, those two fight scenes are kind of choreographed fine, but they're not great. Not really memorable, they don't really have the passions that you really need here. It's like, I've seen this scene already like 40 minutes ago, and it hasn't been varied enough for me to, not in the way it's been staged, or not the way the characters are acting, I'm getting a bit bored by it. And it always brings you back after that, and before and after that, with the scene, the motivation of Killmonger, motivation of Black Panther, and what things mean to him, and how he feels that his father betrayed some of his own principles, dealing with family issues and things, and leaving Killmonger to survive himself because he was a family member, because he was son of the older king's brother who betrayed him. All that stuff really was really interesting, but then they stop and have these duels, and the duels are not that fascinating. And the trouble is, by the time the second one comes around, you've had some fun, the first one, then you've had a really good action scene with them hunting down Andy Serkis's villain, this character. A lot of fun stuff going on, and then you go back to the same bloody action scene again. That's the same one you've already seen. And then after that, I found the film lost a lot of momentum, because you should really be geared up for this confrontation, but instead you've just had a repeat of the same action scene, you know, and then you've a villain who becomes a super villain for only because it's easier for the film to get out of a narrative problem of not make a hero be villainous, which with Iron Man be semi-villainous before, in Age of Ultron and Iron Man 2, you can do it, and you can do interesting, have them redeemed. But this film didn't seem to be interested in doing that. They're a bit scared of that, and it's like, missed opportunity. But it's still an enjoyable film. But I've always been honest, I would rather watch Ant-Man and the Wasp again for fun. You know, it's more fun than this one. You know, this one has got a lot of potential, and hopefully the sequel will stick to the drama and make it more interesting, actually have a villain. Hopefully bring Killmonger back and give him some more interesting facets and explore character more. Because you can still do a lot of this character that's really interesting. But it just felt like they did such a good setup and then they kind of didn't stick the landing. Plus the end sequence was cut between various areas in the African state, and it was all very Phantom Menace-y, where you're cut between a big fight, another fight between the two antagonists on this big metallic area, and a air fight. It's very Phantom Menace. It's a bit better than Phantom Menace, but not by much. That's another problem. I'm thinking Phantom Menace, very Phantom Menace. Okay, we're on to the three I think are more successful. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 probably would be classed as one of the least successful films by a lot of people. I think it's really good, even though it's very straggly and very flawed. It's an eccentric film. It's got a lot of moments of like characters being selfish and being blinded by their past, being blinded by their emotions. And it's a straggly plot because of that, because it's tied to the characters and their emotions. So it's less streamlined. It doesn't have a. In the first film, they had a simple plot. They did this one thing that was. They found it. They were going to get it back and we were trying to sell it for some money. Then they realised it was important, so they fought back against the villains. It's very much a simple like treasure hunt basically, and how to get rich and get out quick. This one, it's about the relationship between the Peter Quill character and his father, which is very complicated. Plus, you get Rocket Raccoon being an arse, and he's been split off into another plot where he has to deal with all these pirates and all these weird characters, and so there's instead of one streamlined plot, there's two plots that are always fighting against each other because you're in one plot and then you go back to another plot, and both plots are interesting, but the plots, they kind of get in each other's way a lot of the time, and they never find a way to intercut in a way that gives the middle of the film propulsion. It just has a feeling of the film standing still for a while until it gets to a point where it can actually get to the meat of the conflict again. So that's the big problem in the film, is there's a soggy middle area. But the characterization's so good, and the whole idea of these weird characters and how selfish they are and how the family relationships are more complicated than you can imagine. The fact it's so openly emotional and so openly melodramatic and without being ashamed of itself is wonderful, and it's funny. It's really funny. All the characters have nice little moments throughout. All the characters are very flawed, as I said before, which means when the emotion starts to come, it really delivers. Like at the end, someone sacrifices themselves for someone else, and it means something. They die. You know, they really mean it. There's no way they're coming back, and that's what's great about the film, because it actually has that moment that lasts for a good 10 minutes of paying tribute to this character, and it's not soppy. It's been earned over these two movies. That's an earned moment, and they managed to stretch it and have a real emotion tied to it and make it complicated, because it wasn't an easy relationship. And there's lots of great moments throughout where you're seeing like Rocket being a smart arse and then getting caught because he hasn't thought stuff through, and Gamora and her sister Nebula fight each other because of their background when they were basically being abused by their own father Thanos in really twisted ways, and it's how they're forced against each other, and it becomes them trying to work out the relationship. In some ways that's the best part of the movie because that's the freshest. It's been built from the first one, and it really gives the middle section a real momentum when other bits are slowing it down. I mean, the weakest point actually is the main one is Peter Quill and his father, which is still good. It's just like it's a lot of talking, a lot of standing and talking, and there's no real moments of fun action and fun moments that deliver character while still keeping the entertainment value up. This one's the static one, where everyone else is still moving and giving the character moments. This one's still kind of sort of stopping and talking, and it kind of takes over the third act, and the third act's a bit more grandiose. Still a lot of fun though, but it's a bit overproduced. And there are lots of money to spend, and they're going to spend it. But it's still got this anarchic flair the whole way through the film. The whole film's just fun, but it's this weird personal film, the way that sort of Batman Returns with Tim Burton is as well, where the director meant it. He doesn't really care about the flaws of the film. He's going to do this film that's important to him. So that's why I really enjoy it. That's why I really rate it high. That's probably my favourite in some ways of the Marvel films, this one. Okay, we're now going to go on to the final two post-Civil War ones. Okay, first is Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is the Taika Waititi, who did What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People. He directed this. It's great fun. It's a really wonderful, bizarre blockbuster. He took his cue from his other films, plus because Guardians had made so much money, Marvel gave him some freedom to reinvent Thor, because Thor had become this thing that was... No one was quite sure it was, because I mean, Iron Man had a series, Captain America series seemed to get better and better as it went on, and Guardians were coming up. Oh, Ant-Man was doing well on its own, but Thor was this thing that just stalled, and no one was quite sure what to do with the character. Even in Age of Ultron, Thor had been like the odd man out. It was like, what do we do with him? Because we're dealing with Iron Man and Hawkeye and Hulk, with all these other characters we're dealing with. Thor, you just go over there for a while, we'll get back to you, type of thing. That was basically it with Thor in that movie. It was like, well, we'll do whatever else but you. So they had a kind of problem with Thor. But the thing with Thor was Chris Hemsworth, who plays him, was always funny. So they just embraced the funny, embraced the humour, and riffed in Planet Hulk story, where he teams up with Hulk in a gladiatorial arena, and he has to try and get back home to save his people from his half sister who's mad and wants to destroy everything. She wants to dominate everything, and he has to deal with his issues with his brother Loki, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's like there's all these themes going on. It's a bit more shallow than Guardians. It doesn't quite embrace the melodrama as much as Guardians does, so it makes it a more streamlined film. And it's a messy film. It's intentionally messy. It's quite happy to be messy. I mean, that's one thing about Marvel films, is they are very messy films. They don't go for perfect screenplays. I don't think I've ever seen one that's a perfect screenplay. I think they've all got messiness to them. But that's kind of part of the charm of Marvel. There's a messiness to them. There's a B-movie. Think about them. That's what's great about them. They're mega budget B-movies. That's what they are. They don't try and hide that. They embrace that. And that's what's good about this film, because it really embraces it and just goes for crazy stuff. Everything's crazy. All the characters are crazy. I mean, one of the best characters is Karl Urban, who also played Dredd in the Great Dredd movie. And he's done like quite a lot of like fun characters in sci-fi, but this time he gets to play this minor character who's the sidekick of Cate Blanchett's villain, and he's just hilarious because he's just this weird guy with weird obsessions. He just wants a bit of attention. That's all he wants, and he gets more and more sucked into this horrible situation by his weakness, and he's just so funny. He's just a funny character throughout. And Thor's cut loose because he's not allowed to be pompous. I mean, to be pompous, people just ignore him or electrocute him, and nobody cares. Jeff Goldblum's in it as the Grand Master, who's just this weird guy who runs the whole slave gladiatorial arena planet, and he just makes money off everybody. And Loki just fits in there perfectly because he arrives before Thor and he makes money pretty quick. So it's just a fun movie with lots of weird characters interacting. Every so often they remember the time if there's a plot. It's like, oh yeah, there's that bit in Asgard we have to go and deal with sometimes. Then every like 10 minutes they deal with that for a moment or two. Then they go back to the fun part where Thor fighting Hulk in an arena, or Thor and Hulk argue with each other, and Banner versus Hulk. Banner, I don't know where the hell he is because he comes back. Hulk goes to Banner, and Banner doesn't know he's been Hulk for 2 years. There's lots of just fun stuff throughout the movie. It's just fun. I mean, it's in some ways it's the most perfect shallow movie ever, because there's moments, but there's not that much depth to it. There's lots of little wonderful moments to create emotion and create humour, and so in the plot there's not much to the plot, but Taika Waititi actually creates a lot through his direction, through the characters, and through the design. It's very over the top. It's made by someone who's seen Flash Gordon way too many times. So it's just a wonderful film. It's easy to watch. It's one of those ones you can put on any time and really enjoy it. It's a wonderful entertainment. So maybe there's other films that, I mean, something like Age of Ultron had much more higher ambitions than Thor Ragnarok. But Thor Ragnarok's more fun to watch. You know, it's like you have to kind of take your wins with what's the most fun in some ways. Okay, the final one's Avengers Infinity War. This is like half a story because Endgame is not out as I record this video, so it's a good film. It's a really good film. It's the hardest way to talk about it because it's only half a film, but it's really enjoyable. It's the first time quality Marvel characters from the early era are actually in a movie for a while, because they've been apart from Thor, you know, and Hulk in that Thor movie. Since Civil War, most of those characters have not been seen in the Marvel movies for a year or two, so we finally get back to them. It's quite interesting to see them again because the characters had moved on, and you had Captain America and Iron Man not talking to each other because of what happened in Civil War, and everyone was fragmented, and then basically Thanos arrived, and Thanos is, you know, a psycho who wants to destroy half the universe with a snap of his finger by getting all these stones, and he has to get the stones, and it's all about him getting all these stones. The Avengers are split apart, they can't communicate, and they have all these individual stories of how they're trying to stop him, and you see each one fail one after another. And these characters have to go against Thanos and discover their limits. I mean, the whole movie is about them discovering their limits. I mean, they all try different things. They all try to, like Tony Stark, Iron Man uses his intelligence, gets him next to nowhere because he ends up being totally destroyed by what happens, where he's pretty much left with all his friends gone. Hulk can't use his Banner can't use Hulk at all because Hulk's not coming out, so he's trapped by himself and trying to work his way through that. And he thinks he gets through it, but it's like he's just seen how much of a crutch he is to Hulk. So there's that, and there's like Thor having to have all his family destroyed in the past, his world destroyed, his people were mostly gone, and he just feels like a failure. He's going to do this one last mission to feel right with the world, and he fails. The Guardians try and, because they're linked because they're the ones who dealt with Thanos, because Thanos was the father of Gamora and the other one, the bald one, Nebula, and so they've all watched this more family level to them, and they're trying to help Gamora, and then they fail completely. I mean, Gamora dies halfway through the film, and then no way to get the Soul Stone, and then Quill messes everything else up, and it's just like a disaster for them. And Thanos wins and destroys half the universe, and that's the end of the film. So it's a really dark film in lots of ways, but it's kept alive by the sense of humour, by the action, because the action, what was seen before about some of the problem with some of the, like Captain Marvel, the action didn't seem to mean much. This one did lots of action scenes, but all the action scenes seem to have a purpose. like, and a lot of the time the purpose was to show how outmatched the Avengers were. Because they kept on losing all of the small victories, and they'd lose again. And another small victory, they get some confidence up, they lose again. And it's like this thing, this drama of them trying and trying and trying and losing, and trying again and losing. But because they've got humour and they've got a lot of drive and they're quirky, it's always fun. You see characters who have never interacting. Everybody's interacting, apart from a few characters like Hawkeye who's not in the film, or Ant-Man, who are in the next one. Everyone's doing something and they keep failing. And that's what's really great about it. I mean, there's a really good subplot with Scarlet Witch and Vision, where Vision's got one of the stones in his head, and he's that's the last stone that Thanos needs to do the finger snap. And basically the final holdout is them protecting Vision, and her having to destroy the stone so that Thanos can't get it and destroy the universe. Unfortunately, because Thanos has a time stone, she destroys it, then he pumps time, gets the stone and snaps his fingers. And it's pretty nasty, and she just is destroyed with that. Like, she has to do the worst thing imaginable for her, and still it's not good enough. And that's the whole film. Nothing's ever good enough. They're facing someone who's so determined he's right. And the good thing about Thanos is he's a nutcase, but he believes in what he's doing, which is destroy half the universe so the other half has space to live and not starve to death. It's insane, but that's his philosophy. So that's one of the best things about this villain is, it's a villain with a point of view, it's a villain with a focus, and that's what Marvel needs, really. But again, like some of these other ones, it is messy. The script is messy. There's lots of great moments, but there's a kind of, the forward momentum goes kind of slow because there's so many characters and you're going back and forward, so you don't see characters like 40 minutes sometimes. So there's this forward momentum, but you get by the goodwill because there's always something interesting happening, and each scene is taken as something that's important rather than something that we just need to get through. So that creates a balance throughout the film, but each time they rise, they fall, and so it's set up for Endgame, which obviously is when they will rise again. But so that's my view on this is my addition to my other videos. Hope you enjoyed it. I mean, I'll commit and do this anyway for a while because I've done a bunch of them in the past. So, I mean, that's not for everybody. I mean, I'm sure some people who watch my show videos will be like, Avengers? We went did Doctor Who, now doing Avengers, what's up with him? This is not forever. I'm just trying to do some that are, if you do something like Shore or, you know, Sword and Pity, you kind of really need the fun stuff as well. But yeah, this is just following a Bresson movie, so hope that's still balanced. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back soon with some more, and there'll be some other ones this week. Okay, right, bye.